the lowest level of coding programming languages, which is machine code. So yeah, the lowest level of programming languages are machine instructions, otherwise known as machine code. So you might have seen this in the movies before, where they're trying to maybe hack into something, or like a computer screen where they have a bunch of zeros and ones. And this is actually representing machine code. So machine code is the lowest level of programming languages, and it's composed of just ones and zeros. And then, as you can tell as well, for pretty much any human, it looks like gibberish, right? There's nothing to really interpret for us. So machine code, the reason for this is because machine code isn't meant to actually be interpreted by us. It's meant to be interpreted by machines. So once again, this is the lowest level of programming languages. So here's an example of what machine code looks like. It's actually pretty interesting. We usually call this like binary when it's put together to form something. We usually call it binary, and you can see how like just all of this, all these ones and zeros just form single characters, right? So you can imagine just spelling out something would be a lot of gibberish to us. So I have a page here where we can actually play around with this. I just felt like playing around with it shortly. Let me pause this video. Okay, I get this off. So we'll scroll down, and then we can actually, it'll actually translate whatever we enter in to name to text. Sorry, this is the wrong thing. So I'm looking for name to binary. So I found a cool thing where we can actually turn our names into binary and see what it would look like, and just see how much work it looks like. So I can enter in text and it'll convert it to binary. So for example, I'll enter in my name. Let me close this. I'll enter in my name like that, and I'll convert it to binary. And then this is not the output down here, but this is the output that I have highlighted. So you can see just how many characters it is and just how like far away it is from human language, right? So I can even say hello. Convert it to binary. Okay, I'm waiting for that to load. A lot of ads on the website. Okay, but I think you get the gist. It's very complicated. It's just like a lot of gibberish, right? So this is hello in binary. And yeah, it's very far away from human language, which makes it a low-level language. So going back to our presentation, and we're going to continue on. So that was machine code, and it's using binary. So the second, one step above machine code, is assembly languages. So essentially, an assembly language is just a more friendly code on top of machine code. So once again, now it's starting to become more readable, more better to interpret. That's not to say it's interpretable now, but it's just more familiar, I guess you could say. You can start like noticing things. You can start seeing numbers you're familiar with and stuff like that. So yeah, it's essentially just a more friendly code on top of machine code. With assembly languages, instead of writing ones and zeros, you can use more familiar terms, as I've already said. And then once again, assembly languages are still a very low programming language. Okay, next is system level languages. This you could say is like the third lowest, right? Okay, so another step higher from assembly languages is system languages. A system languages is anything we use to write anything we use to program the actual computer system. So stuff like our operating system as well. And yeah, it's just the actual computer system. We don't use it for programming actual computer applications too much. So if you're programming the actual computer and how it works, you would use a system level language. So stuff like C++ and C are languages that are known for that. By the way, if there are any questions, you can type that in chat and I'll be looking there. Okay, so next we have application and high-level languages. So application languages, otherwise known as high-level languages, are the highest level of programming languages. This category is very broad because it fits in many languages. Application and high-level languages are languages that are usually used to build consumer-facing applications. So that's stuff that's going to be given to a consumer, somebody who doesn't know about coding, to somebody who needs to use a tool, right? So computers cannot understand high-level languages. So that's something very important to know about the next thing we're going to discuss. So anything more than machine code, computers do not understand, or binary, I should put it. So yeah, Python, if you recognize that logo, is a high-level language. All these languages are high-level languages, and there are some other high-level languages as well, or there are many others as well. Okay, so that brings us to our next topic, which is compilers and interpreters. So might get a little bit confusing, but I'm going to try to do my best to explain it. So compilers and interpreters both serve the same purpose, and it's to convert human readable code into computer readable code. Because if you remember what I mentioned last slide, computers cannot understand high-level languages, and they can only really understand binary. So in order for them to actually understand Python, which we see that Python is understood, we have to use compilers and interpreters. And this is used for other high-level languages as well. So yeah, they convert high-level code into machine code. Okay, programming languages usually have many implementations. This is something else to note, meaning that they might do things slightly different. So you can get a compiler or interpreter for a specific language sometimes. And yeah, so because of this, you would usually say that it's the implementation of a language that is interpreted or compiled, not the programming language itself as a whole. So that was a little bit confusing, but I'm going to explain it a little bit better at the next slide. So can I have an example? Okay, so how do two people who speak two different languages talk to each other, right? And we can compare this to our situation as well. We have our computer, which only understands machine code, and then we have our Python language, which is just our Python language that we understand, right? But we want our computer, let me turn on my laser pointer so we can kind of just, we want my computer to understand what we understand, the Python language we understand. Well, to do this, we need a translator, right? And in this case, the translator for what we're talking about with the computer in Python is the interpreter or compiler. Sense? And hopefully that makes sense. So we can look at it here. So compiler versus interpreter, what the differences between them are. So compiler will convert the code into machine code before the program is run. So if we're going back to our example, I guess you could say that the translator is going to take everything our Python program has to say. It's going to maybe write it down in a book, close it, and then give it to our computer to understand, right? So that's what a compiler is basically doing. And then an interpreter will convert the code. Hold on. An interpreter will convert each line of the code one by one into machine code when the program is being run, if that makes sense. So it'll convert the code into machine code when the program is being run. So if we're going back to this example again, that means maybe we're saying something, the person is saying something to the translator, and each time the person maybe finishes a sentence, the interpreter is going to give it off to the person who doesn't understand, right? So hopefully that made a little bit of sense. If you have questions about that, please be sure to ask them so I can try to explain that better. So yeah, we can even break it down this way as well. So how a compiler works, it has the source code, so it has whatever's being said. Then it goes through the compiler, the translator, and then since this translator is specifically a compiler type, it breaks it down into machine code, or we could say it writes down everything the other person says, the source code says, and puts it in a book and closes it. And then after that, it gives that book to the computer, which is the output, right? And then the computer can understand it and can output whatever. So for the interpreter, while it's being run, or while the source code is saying something to the translator is saying it to the computer. I hope that made a little bit of sense. I'm not sure if that was a good analogy, but did we get that? Do I need to explain that again, guys? Can you please tell me if I need to explain that again in chat? I'm not sure if I need to explain that too well. But anyways, that's pretty much how it works. So this might become important to us a lot later. It might not be too important to us right now, but it'll definitely become a lot more important later on. Okay, so moving on. We are learning Python 3, so that takes us to the main part of what we're doing. So we're learning Python 3, as we know. That 3 at the end pretty much represents the version of Python we're learning, because there are multiple versions. There's Python 1, there's Python 2, and then right now the latest is Python 3, so that's what we want to learn, right? So what is Python? So Python is a computer programming language if we didn't already know. It's also widely accepted as the best programming language to learn first. It's very capable, it's very useful, and you can do many things with it. And it's very powerful. It's also a very fast growing programming language, and it's very, very popular. So that's not to make you a bandwagon to learn it, because even though it's very popular, it's still very, very high in demand, right? And yeah, many employers want it. So if you want to work at big companies, like Instagram, I know for sure uses Python. Just many big companies use Python, and it's a great thing to have on your portfolio. So yeah, here's just some examples of where you can find careers where Python's used. Financial advisor, Python can be used for that. You can actually use Python to also build games. You can find it in the game developer path. Data science, Python's great for like analyzing stuff. Educator, of course, if you want to educate people on Python and teach it, or maybe you want to actually use it to help you with your teachings. You can use it to build apps, of course, even a mobile app, of course, desktop applications. You can actually use Python to help you build websites, but that would also be using HTML still, but you can use it with web development. And then just product manager, because you can use it for maybe like looking at statistics. It's great for analyzing data as well. So yeah, Python can be used for a lot of stuff. And then that's why you might, if you ever like hear about Python, you might either call it like a general purpose language, meaning that it's used for like almost anything, or you might call it an all-purpose programming language, which means it's for all purposes. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that shows why you should maybe learn Python as well. So where do we write Python? So Python can be written in any text editor, but for an easier and more efficient experience, we should write Python within an IDE. So an IDE stands for an integrated development environment. Pretty much an IDE is a software application that has many useful features and tools that pretty much just helps a computer programmer's job, or helps make a computer programmer's job easier. So two very popular ones specifically for Python are Visual Studio Code and PyCharm. So you might want to check those later on your free time. So Python itself actually needs to be downloaded or installed, I guess you could say. So you need to install Python on your computer. And I guess you could say you're installing that interpreter. So yeah, Python does not come pre-installed on most devices. And if you don't already have it, you can download it from Python's official website. So I can put that link in chat for you guys, and you can get it there. And you won't need it to follow along with this course. Yeah, I couldn't get Python on my desktop. Okay, so I'll try to help you walk through it maybe closer to the end. But yeah, sorry if you couldn't get it, because you do need to set it up right. If you're on Windows, you probably have to go through a wizard. Something else to note is that Python is also bundled with an IDE. So after we get through this presentation, we'll go try to get Python ourselves now. Okay, so the Python shell. So when you first launch Python, you'll be greeted to its shell, and it'll look something like this as you see over here. It'll say the version of the Python you're on. You'll see a lot of text, and it's just going to be information about your computer as well. So it says the version of Python I'm using. Okay, you actually have the shell. Okay, so you probably did install Python, but you can't figure out how to get to the place where you write the code. So I can show you how to do that. Okay, so yeah, a shell is a user interface for accessing a shell is a user interface for access to the operating system's services. So yeah, you can do things here in the shell. We're not going to be messing around with it too much. But yeah, it's just something to know. And then to actually start writing Python, we would want to create a new file, but we'll be doing that afterwards. Okay, so we're also going to be using SoloLearn for this course as well for our extra activities and just staying engaged throughout the week. Yeah, so if you don't have a SoloLearn account, you should create one and navigate to Python tutorial, and then you'll be given tasks to complete from there. Okay, so I have a question before we get out of here, just to test our knowledge. So what is the lowest level of computer programming language? This is just a quick test to see if we remember everything from earlier on. C, okay. Yeah, the correct answer is C. Okay, so let's download Python now. So that was just pretty much the main part of the lesson, because we have to spend a lot of time actually trying to figure out how we do Python and get it, right? So first things first, you want to be on a desktop, of course, when you're writing code, if I didn't make that clear already. And you can download Python from this link I'm putting in chat. So that's Python's official website. So you can do it now, or you can do it later and just follow along with me. So I guess I'll show you how you can do it. It's going to be my process is going to be a little bit different from yours because I'm on a different operating system. So the way I download things is different. But pretty much, once you're on the website, you should see the option to download Python. You can press on that and it'll immediately start downloading on your computer like so. It should be an executable file, I believe, and you'll have to execute it, and you'll choose the file location for where you want to install Python, and that's pretty much it. So does that make sense? So it's not too tricky. There's not too much of a setup. You just need to choose where you want to install it, I believe, because currently I'm not on a Windows machine, so I'm just trying to remember what it was like when I did it on Windows, if that makes sense. But yeah, okay. So let me open up Python for you guys and we'll continue from that step. Or I'll actually wait for you guys. Are you guys trying to install it now, or do you guys want me to wait for you to try to install it right now? I have it, I think. Okay. No, people are starting to join this late. It's all right though. I'm installing it. Okay, that's good. So I say, okay, you have it. Okay, that's good. And you execute the file and you chose where you wanted it to install, right? You pressed on that down here. Okay. So while we try to do that, I say okay, people are joining now. This is weird. Okay, so while you're doing that, I guess we should go on our break now and we'll come back. And then if anybody's still having trouble trying to download Python, we'll help them out. Hello. Oh, you're kind of late, but I guess it's all right. You can try to follow. Okay, you're kind of late, but I guess it's all right. You can try to follow along. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're on our break, and we'll meet back in 5 minutes. Okay, so we should be back now. Hopefully that was enough time. This is a really weird Google Meet call, but it's all right. So yeah, we'll continue on. So hopefully you've gotten the Python IDLE on your computer now. Hopefully you should be able to see something similar to this. Mine looks once again a little bit different from yours only because I'm on a different operating system. But you should be able to see like this main screen over here with maybe the Python version first, so Python 3 point, yours is going to be 0.9 point something, I believe. And your stuff should be just a little bit different. Yeah, hello. Okay, we'll just continue on. Okay. So if you have the IDLE open, you should be able to see a little bit of information about the Python version you have. I'll say some facts about just the operating system once again. So for me, it says something on Linux. I'm on Linux, my Python version. Mine's a little bit older than yours. It'll also show the date, I believe, that it came out, I believe. And yeah, so it's just a little bit of information. So this is what it should look like when you first get it. And I guess I'm just going to show you what Python does and how it just makes everything easier and what makes it such a high level language. So if you want to follow along, you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and I'm going to press on New File. So this is the new file it created. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push this to the side like this. I'm going to push this to the side like this. So this is my new file over here. And this is my IDLE. This is my IDLE. And by the way, IDLE stands for Integrated Development Learning Environment. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this, correct? Is everybody able to follow along? Am I leaving anybody behind? Sorry, mine is installing. Okay, no problem. I'll wait a little bit longer. Meanwhile, I'm just going to increase my font size. So Brian, are you following along? Have you gone this far? Let me go like options. Okay, nice. You're on it. So press on File and then create a new file, and then you can just bring that to the side as well. So this is where this new file you've created is where you're going to be writing your Python code. So you can write stuff in it. And yeah, this is where you're writing your Python code. So we're going to test out doing one thing. I'm not going to explain what it's really doing, but I'll just show you how doing it with this language would make it so much easier than it would be with many other languages. So first, let me try to zoom in on my text font so you can see better. It should be at the top left if you have the Python shell open. One second, let me increase the font size. Let me see. Put that to size 25, I guess, apply. Okay, I think it's big enough now. Okay, yeah, you can share your screen. I'll try to help you. Oh, okay. So you opened Python through your terminal, I believe. So if you could close out of that. Okay, now press on that Windows key and search Python. Just search Python. Stop. Do you see IDLE, the idle I was talking about? It's like that. So it is possible to do it through that terminal. It's just you have to do a command, and I do not know off the top of my head. But now you should see it, right? File, new. Okay, no problem. Okay, so that's pretty much the first part completed. We've got in Python. And I'm just going to show you what makes it a more human-friendlier language. So if I want something to print out, if I want my program to say something to me, I can do something as simple as this. So today we're not going to be breaking down what this really does. This is a function. We're not going to be breaking down really how it works today or like all the values that we pass to it. But we can easily make it talk to us just like this. So I can say, hello, this is awesome. I can do something like this. I just need to save it, of course. test, save, and then I can run it. So run module. And see the output over here in our shell. So when we output stuff, it's going to go to our shell. And then we can see, hello, this was awesome, was printed. This was the print function. So yeah, that just shows how easy it is to use Python. We're not breaking down once again the concept of really writing it today, not really syntax writing stuff today. We will be doing that next camp. Today we're just trying to get Python installed, which we did successfully. Understand computer programming levels, which we did successfully. And yeah, so let's move on to this. Probably might be the hardest part, unless we're already all set up, which is logging on to Moodle. Oh, yep. How do we run Python code to the shell? So first of all, of course, if you need your work to run, you need it to save. It's not going to auto-save for you. So you must save your Python script, which is what I have to the right over here. You have to save this something, and then after that, you can run it. So save your work, give it a title, give the file a title. Also, it might not even run if you don't know what you're trying to write. But if you copy exactly what I did here, I can assure you it will work. So I'll put this in chat, and you can just copy and paste it within your file. What are we logging into? It's another platform for the extra activities we're doing. We're switching from Google Classroom, and we're using Moodle now. So I'll be showing you how to use that and access content. And it's a lot cooler in my opinion as well. Okay, so yeah, that's that. Save your work. You can run it. Once again, we're not getting too much into writing into it today. I want it to be more of a laid back day. And yeah, let's call it that. So let's move on to using Moodle now. So I'm going to drag this over. So hopefully you've been sent your information for Moodle. You've logged into it. Am I correct? Moodle. So this is what Moodle looks like. I can put the link in chat for you guys so you can access it. Okay. So here's the link. I believe the username is your email, and then the password is, everybody has the same password for now, and then you can change it. The password is change me, I believe. So you have to change that as well. Does that make sense? So that's the link you go to. Your username, I believe, is your email, and then the password you enter in is change me. Okay, nice. You're on Moodle. Okay, so Malachi, if you have issues, just tell me. I'm just going to keep going on, and I can repeat it for you afterwards. So, okay, no problem. And I guess it's just yes here. So if we finish early, we can go on to talk about mentorship for the HTML thing afterwards. So yeah, so you're on Moodle. You want to go to Python Camp B. That's this course name. Select that. Once that loads up, 1 second, you should see day one, right? Understanding and installing Python. And then if you press on that, let me make sure I'm as a student right now. Let me switch my role to a student so I can show you what it looks like. So yeah, you should see these options now. So if you press on understanding and installing Python, it'll take you, you can select the extra activities. You can go to the extra activities, press on that. There's a tiny description, and then you want to click where it says click here, and I'll take you to the Google document where you can see the extra activities. So for today, it's been pretty chill, I guess you could say. You already have a solo learn account, so that's done. You need to complete the first 2 lessons in Module 1 for Python 3 tutorial. That's the course you're doing on solo learn. You just need to submit a screenshot that proves your completion of step 2. You can do that in Moodle. It's just attaching a file, I believe. And then we've already installed Python 3, so we've done that step. And then I just need you to fill this questionnaire I have under resources for day 1. It says it's invalid. Okay, I think one of the admins will probably try to help you out with that. Which email are you trying to use? Are you trying to use your Learn With Me email? Because I believe for that one, you could I think you're supposed to use your personal email. I'm not too sure. Okay, no problem. So I'm just going to change this so everybody can see it. Let me make it so anyone with the link can see this. Okay. So Brian, are you able to access the extra activities? Did you get there? Okay, perfect. So that worked perfectly for you. We're just waiting on Malachi, and we can move on to the final thing we have to talk about. So today was a bit of a shorter camp because things are going to start getting a lot more complicated if today wasn't already complicated enough with compilers and interpreters. But yeah. Okay, sure. Oh, no, I said I think you're supposed to use your personal email. That's what I said. Me. Yeah, one word. Okay, I'll look. Okay, I'll try to help you figure it out. I'll talk to one of the. Okay, yeah, they're working on fixing it for you right now. So yeah, I guess I'll keep showing it off. So yeah, once again, Brian, you already found it. That's good. So Python can't be, and then this is the questionnaire I was talking about. It's pretty simple. It's just asking if you installed Python. You say yes or no, and then you save your choice. I'm just trying to test out the features of Moodle a bit more so I can play around with it. But yeah, so let's just wait for you to log in, Malachi, get set up, and we can move on to the next thing. So any questions about anything we did today? Did everything make sense with compilers and interpreters, what they do? Okay, that's good. Brian, how about you? Is everything good? Okay, that's good. Okay. So, yeah, so I guess I can give you guys, I can try to get you guys excited for what we're going to be doing in the future. So you can pretty much see from the titles, soon we're going to be doing decision making, which is going to be interesting. Once we learn decision making, we can actually start building maybe our first game. So we can build rock, paper, scissors with Python, and then we can get it to collect user input. We can do a lot of stuff. There's the last day, which is a top secret. I can't explain that one. We're messing around with loops, creating our own functions, and then using a lot more built-in Python functions like that print function we saw earlier. Just a whole lot of stuff. And then the thing is, once you learn like these basic concepts, you can go into a lot of different fields with what you want to do. Because once again, it's like a general purpose language, right? So you can do a lot. So you can build like pretty much after you finish collecting user input, you can like make your own you can make your own survey. You can start like yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, today was just a more chill back day. We just want to make sure we could get Python installed and we understand Python, that we can get serious with using it. Okay, so Malachi, once you successfully log in, I guess we'll just move on to what we need to talk about. Oh, Nadir is here now. Hello, Nadir. Hello, Nadir. Okay, that's great. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the camp. We saw the extra activities. Hopefully, we can navigate there. Once again, a shorter class. Next camp's not going to be this short. She should be ready. And yeah, since it's all three of us here pretty much, let me just end this one thing and we can move on to what we need to talk about.